This is how to start putting together the cash flow forecast using a download of your bank statement as the basis for the expenses side of your cash flow forecast. So first step is to go and collect, for instance, 3 months of bank statements and search on your electronic banking app or electronic banking web pages. Collect 3 months worth of statements and download them as an Excel. And what you will finish up with is an Excel sheet. It looks broadly like this. Now, for some reason, the banks insist on putting some blank data in there. What we're going to use, the pivot table mechanism doesn't like blank spaces. It wants all data to be adjacent to one another. So remove the blank columns and any blank rows that there may be in there so that all the data is closely adjacent to one another. And you'll finish up with something that looks a little bit like this. Okay. The next step we need to do is to add to this classification, classes or classification or something similar, depending on what your accounting package calls it. The idea of this is a kind of generalization for each expenditure, a kind of grouping, a kind of family or whatever. So you might have travel in there. It might be raw materials. It might be fuel. It might be clothing. Whatever you want to put that classification in, so that it makes sense to you what the expenses are, the grouped together expenses are in your business. So in this business, for instance, this was expenditure at cash and carry as opposed to wholesale or on and off licensed sales. So we go through this whole bank statement, putting together that classification, and it does take a few minutes, I'll be honest with you, and when it's finished it should look something like this, with a classification beside every one of the transactions. Then the magic starts, because what you wish to do then is to highlight, in this case I'll just highlight the first month's worth of statements, and then, so I've gone down the first month, highlight everything that's in that month, and insert pivot table. And you'll find it says insert pivot table. Here's the table range, which is what's highlighted, and I want to insert it into a new worksheet. Looks like that. Takes me to this new worksheet. At this stage, I'll see down here these fields. These fields come from the previous page. We want money in and we want money out. It automatically places that in a values column. Automatically goes to the values column. And in there we've got classification as well, which I also want to bring in, and that needs to go in rows. And as if by magic, that then puts in the addition of all the transactions according to the different classifications. The row label here is classification. These are the classifications that we used when we went through the bank statement. These are the aggregated costs of that business in that month in those segments. And this is the start of your cash flow statement. Because you've aggregated all your costs together, then you can see what the costs were in that period of time. It gives you a good average for the month. This is the beginning of the cash flow statement. You start then to build this up month upon month or week upon week as it suits you. So that's just how we put a cash flow a pivot table together to get our first draft of the cash flow forecast. Hope that makes sense for you guys. If you've got any questions, obviously come back to me, but that is how we start gathering the data to build a cash flow forecast. I'm Ian Strachan. Speak to you soon.